BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Hello and welcome to the Scottish Football Podcast, bringing you up to speed on everything you need to know about the beautiful game here in Scotland. It's Tuesday, the 12th of March. I'm Phil Goodlad. And coming up today...
Shanklin through the middle, huge opportunity. Lays it off to Vargas! Kenneth Vargas gives Hearts the lead!
The Scottish Cup reaction as Hearts make it past Morton just plus.
Number 1.
Aberdeen. First out the hat this evening.
Number 2.
They are facing Celtic, the current Scottish Cup holders.
We look ahead to the semi-finals after last night's draw, and we continue to assess the players in and around Steve Clarke's Scotland squad.
Oh, I don't believe it! What a magnificent goal from Scott McKenna! 40 yards left foot, top corner!
Today it's the turn of Scott McKenna and Max Johnson.
This is the Scottish Football Podcast from BBC Sport Scotland.
Lots to get through then on this podcast. I'm joined by the former Ayr United, Partick Thistle and Hearts midfielder Ryan Stevenson, and coach, analyst and co-host of the Scots Abroad podcast, John Walker. Gentlemen, hello to you both.
Hello, Phil. How you doing?
There's lots to get through. John, I just firstly don't want you to pop my bubble of just how good your job is, because I read that you are the Scots Abroad podcast host, and I have visions of you travelling the world watching Scottish football fly their trade. Tell me that the truth.
It's definitely not, mate. It's definitely not. It's a lot of TV subscriptions, and a lot of leagues are watched via my own room.
Ryan, you and I can breathe easily. We're not the jealous men we thought we were. Listen, lots to get through with you both. First, though, we must touch a moment on the latest Scottish football headlines. In the final quarter-final of the round, Hearts beat Morton 1-0 in Greenock last night with a late Kenny Vargas goal. It was enough to book their place at Hampden next month. They'll now face Rangers in the semi-final, holder Celtic drawn against Aberdeen. In the Women's Scottish Cup, Rangers and Celtic go up against each other for a place in the final. The other last four ties sees Hearts take on Spartans. Steve Clarke will name his Scotland squad for the upcoming friendlies against the Netherlands and Northern Ireland later today. Tonight in the Championship, it's third against second as Partick Thistle hosts Raith Rovers. And Hibs are to reduce the ticket allocation for away supporters at Easter Road. In a statement last night, they cite abhorrent behaviour and chanting made by some away supporters.
The Scottish Football Podcast.
We'll get to last night's game in just a moment. A good old-fashioned cup tie down in Greenock. First, though, Ryan Stevenson, what do you make of the decision by Hibs to reduce their ticket allocation for away fans?
It's obviously probably been a difficult situation for them to get to make that decision. I think if they feel strongly enough and if they feel that it's justified, then they've obviously got the right to do that. I think it's all good and well when fans are there and there is a bit of rivalry and a bit of banter, but I think there really has to be a line that we can't cross. I think that's right across every sort of team as a society. So I think if Hibs feel that it's justified, then they're more within the right to do that.
I was interested to see the statement because they mention the behaviour of their own fans as well. It's not been exemplary, as they admit. But they say that enough is enough. And they're asking for Scottish football to do more, essentially a crackdown across our teams. Is this something that at this stage of the season will be looked at, or will we almost see... Will we see a lot of people come out and say, yes, we agree with this, and we're going to work towards this for the start of next season?
Well, I think we have to just work towards it right now. I don't think there's any time. I don't think we can just say, listen, we can just keep going and then we'll deal with it next season. I think it has to be something that we deal with straight away. We all love football, we all love the game, we're all passionate about it. We all love going and watching games, home and away, especially, if you support your team and you go to these away games, they're absolutely amazing to be involved in, and especially if you're in the away end and it's full, and you see that at Hibs I've been there with Hearts when the away end's full, and it's absolutely magical. You seen it last night at the Morton game when Hearts had filled behind the goal in the away end. It is absolutely brilliant, and it makes the game as a player when you're on that pitch and you come in, and if you're playing away from home and you see all your fans behind the goal and the away end full, and the home end obviously, when I think that it's good that Hibs have come out and questioned their own fans as well. But I think at the same time there is a line, and there has to be a line in the sand where we know, just as human beings, that we can't cross that line, and we're there to support the team, we're there to support the players, but we're there obviously also to respect each other and respect the clubs.
John, you spend your time watching Scottish footballers abroad, so you pick up the atmosphere in stadiums around the world, and you pick up maybe the fans' behaviour. Does Scottish football and our fans stick out in your worldview?
Not really. For the enthusiasm and the passion, definitely. But when you watch the likes of Barry Douglas in Poland, they're away fans. They're a different breed altogether. You've got the pyro, you've got alcohol in the stadium, you've got that ruckus atmosphere. It's very much similar levels. Stephen Mallam, when he was in Turkey, although he was there during COVID, it was the same idea. And I think, although Ryan's absolutely nailed it, Rangers fans potentially are crossing a line that the government have said is too much. So if Hibs want to reduce the allocation, that's on them. But I think the best thing for Scottish football and the best part of the product is the fans. It's how you get as many fans in those stadiums so that when the TV deals come round, you've got an amazing product to sell to people. It's why the English Championship and English League One TV deal is dwarfing ours now. Is because they have full stadiums with full allocations for home and away fans, and every stadium's atmosphere is insane. I know the English Premier League gets criticised for being watered down in a tourist league, but if you go down in England, they're now getting money in those leagues because those leagues are represented the same way ours are. So if the allocation's cut, it needs to be picked up. As far as I can see in Scottish football, Hearts are one of the few teams that have actually cut allocations and been able to increase their season ticket sales, and their match appearances have been very impressive, and their atmosphere's probably the best in the league. Like if you're a Rangers fan going away, Hearts away is one of the best ones in the league. So okay, I just hope when Scottish football's taking its part, it's doing it properly.
This statement coming out after the Rangers Hibs game, but Hibs say that it's been unacceptable behaviour across large parts of the season from a variety of teams and supporters. On to the football, Ryan. That was a real banana skin last night for your old club. And with 10 minutes to go, you were thinking, well, this could actually be a headline-grabbing event. And yet, I thought they saw the game really well. They were obviously 0-0 at a packed Capello. There was a lot of nerves on show early on, but I thought in the end, we saw what a Premiership team should do against a lower league side.
Yeah, I think especially the start of the second half, I think Morton went at them. Craig Gordon had a few very good saves when he was called upon. I think just the full thing. I mean, I absolutely love it. I think, obviously, what I'm saying there about the away end at Capello, just Capello in general, one of these old Scottish grounds. And when there's 5, 6, 7,000 in there, it seems as if there's 70,000. It's electric. And I think Hearts understood what was going to happen. I think they knew that in any stage of any game, Morton were going to have a bit of the ball. They were going to throw it into the box. They were going to take long throw-ins, and they put them under a bit of pressure. Craig Gordon came to the fore as he does, as you expect. But I think the last 10, 15 minutes, I think you could just see that the sort of fitness of Hearts, the way they were moving the ball about. And you were just kind of at that stage. I was sitting watching it, and I was just hoping that something would fall to Lawrence. But they managed to. Birmingham had done a great run right through the middle of the midfield into Morton's back four, and luckily enough, it falls for Kenny. And Kenny had a couple of chances before that he had squandered. But a great finish, get his head down through the ball. And again, listen, see at the start of the game, I can guarantee you, Nazy would have been in that changing room just saying, listen, regardless of performance or anything, let's just get to Hampden, get to a semi-final, and that's what they've done. It
was all played in front of Scotland manager Steve Clarke last night. All the headlines surrounding Craig Gordon, could he get back into the Scotland squad? John Walker, for you, is Craig Gordon a goalkeeper that you would like to have on your bench at the Euros, or maybe even start against Germany on June the 14th?
I think Steve Clarke seems to really like the squad mentality of having familiar faces. So I reckon if Craig Gordon's up for it, Craig Gordon's in that squad. Because I think, although Robbie McCrory's been there, they're playing very similar game time. They're getting very little games around the cup. I think for Craig Gordon's experience and Craig Gordon being around the players he has been, it'd be very likely be Craig Gordon to come back into that squad. And I think to get to a major tournament is kind of what he's earned for Scotland.
Ryan, Hearts, Rangers, is that, I mean, the last four, you probably can't choose which team you want because you're in a semi-final at Hampden, so you take what you get. But will Hearts be happy with that up against the Rangers side that could be playing Sunday, Thursday, Sunday matches if they're in the Europa League deep stages?
I think if you asked any Hearts fan and Aberdeen fan, they'd have been sat there thinking, let's draw each other.
Yeah.
The biggest thing would have been trying to stay away from Rangers and Celtic until you get to a final. I think Rangers just now, the way they're playing, it'll be a difficult game for Hearts. I think obviously going back a couple of weeks to the 5-0 game at Ibrox, that'll be fresh in the memory as well. Just subconsciously it'll sit there for, I think, a lot of the players. But at the same time, Hearts have got big players. They've had big players that have played in big games. And it's a semi-final. I think you go to Hampden, Hearts will sell their allocation, Rangers will sell theirs. It'll be some spectacle. And I mean, at the end of the day, you've got a chance of winning something. So they'll still fancy their chances. But I think if you had asked any Hearts player or any Hearts member of staff in the same way Aberdeen, they would have hoped they'd have probably picked each other and let Rangers and Celtic fight it out and let Twitter melt down and all the conspiracy theorists and all that. So I think they would have been more than happy if they'd picked each other. But you're going to have to beat them. If you're going to win the cup, you're going to have to inevitably beat one of the old firms. So they might need to beat the two of them. But I think the form that Hearts are in, the way they're playing just now, if they play well and Rangers are maybe a bit tired and do have an off day, they can most certainly beat them.
For everything you need to know about your team this season, download the BBC Sport app. All the latest news, goal updates, stats and scores, and insight and analysis. Just select your club to get the biggest stories and best content at your fingertips. What a result. Download the BBC Sport app for everything you need to know about your team this season.
Scotland with friendlies coming up. I want to focus on this. The Netherlands in Amsterdam and then Northern Ireland 4 days later at Hampden. All eyes on Steve Clarke later today. Who will make the squad for these two matches? 2 of 4 friendlies coming up between now and Scotland's opening match at the Euros against Germany. We've been checking out a number of the Scots playing abroad. So who better than you, John Walker, to focus on today, the turn of Scott McKenna and Max Johnson. I mean, I would ask you how McKenna is adjusting to life in Copenhagen, but we've seen it in the Champions League over the last couple of weeks. He looks an assured presence in a Copenhagen side playing at that level.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things is it's probably my turn to apologise to Scott McKenna on potentially downplaying his football ability, because I've only ever known Scott McKenna coming through at Aberdeen, going on to Nottingham Forest where he played in the Championship and at the lower end of the Premier League, where they maybe weren't keeping as much of the ball or playing what we would perceive as total football out for the back for a Premier League side. And I was always a bit unsure as to what Scott McKenna's skill set with the ball was. He's now moved to Denmark, to Copenhagen, who are a team that are like your Rangers and Celtic. They're dominating every game, dominating all the ball. And you're seeing that Scott McKenna is an English Premier League level defender. He's very good on the ball. His passing stats are like 94, 95% every game. The long pass is the same. The tackling's not dropped a bit. So he's kind of slotted in perfectly, and he's probably convinced me more than anything that he can actually stay in the English Premier League and go and play for another team that potentially have that style of football and continually push into the Scotland squad.
John, can I flip that and saying, for all that you say McKenna's fitting into a team that has so much pressure and so much possession of the ball at Copenhagen, that's not what he'll have at Scotland. So is he a perfect fit in a Scotland back three or a back four?
I think in the back three, if Kieran Tierney, the biggest issue for Scotland is Kieran Tierney going to make it? Is Kieran Tierney going to be fit? Is he able to play all the games? If it's going to be a back three, I think, irrespective going into this major tournament, I think at left centre-half, Scott McKenna to me looks like the one that can best support Andy Robertson driving with the ball, just from what I'm seeing in Copenhagen. He's not going to do the same things Kieran Tierney was doing because nobody else can, and it's why we've got this different formation. I think in the back three, what I'm most surprised about is because Scott McKenna's doing a different type of defending at Copenhagen. He's getting left 1v1 a lot. He's doing a lot of channel defending whilst his whole team is up the park. I'm just impressed with that different equality that he's shown. And I think if Scotland are pushing forward in games in a 4, I'm quite comfortable Scott McKenna can deal with all that man-to-man. I'm just been really impressed with the change, considering he has played against Haaland in the Champions League, and although they get beat, Scott McKenna was reasonably good in both games.
Speak about Max Johnson as well, and also Max Johnson is a really interesting example of a player who we've almost forgotten about here in Scotland, because, I mean, Scott McKenna, you may have forgotten about him, but then he was on the telly for a couple of times in the latest Champions League matches. But Max Johnson quietly going about his business, and you've been impressed with him this season.
Yeah, that's exactly what I would say. It's been very fleeting, his performances. He started a few games recently, started in the Europa League against Slovan Bratislava. Very good. He came off the bench in a game a couple of weeks ago and set up the winner. I've been impressed with that. The winner that he set up was very kind of what we have seen from Nathan Patterson, that kind of driving straight at a fullback, dropping the shoulder, getting a good cross in. I've been impressed with how he's adapted. The Austrian League's probably not much different from the Scottish League in quality. I would say the top teams are probably more evenly split at European campaign level. They can get people that are third and fourth in the league into the last 16 of Europe. But the overall quality is not too different. But Max Johnson's only issue is he's got a right wing back in front of him who's also very good, and it's just getting enough game time. But like I've said before, Steve Clarke really likes his squad that have been involved, and Max Johnson was lucky enough to be called up through the under-21s into a squad. And with Nathan Patterson not playing, Aaron Hickey being injured, it might open up.
Is Johnson, has he added versatility to his game that he can play in other areas other than just right wing back? I mean, could he fit into a traditional fullback role? Could he even be pushed up further up the park?
Yeah, I think he's better as a right back in a 4 with a winger in front of him. That's what I think he looks better at, but he has played a lot as a right wing back. Even in Scott Gemmell's side, he's played with 2 on the right. I think he can do both. I just think it's him getting enough game time and him ticking over to hit those levels. But I think Max Johnson will be a ridiculously good footballer for Scotland, and we'll have the same problem at right back as we had at left back.
Before we go, big night tonight in the Championship, Ryan. Partick Thistle, one of your former teams, up against Wraith Rovers. Thistle third, Rovers second. I mean, this has 0-0 or 3-3 written all over it.
Yeah, it's been really good. I mean, I've seen a lot of the Championship games this year. Being a sort of Ayr fan, I go along to Somerset as much as I can. I've seen Thistle, I've seen Wraith Rovers, and to be totally honest with you, I've been really, really impressed with Wraith Rovers. I think the job that Ian Murray's done there has been absolutely brilliant. He's got some really, really good players. Obviously, Chris has gone into Thistle. He knows the club. He's done really, really well. So yeah, it's got everything set up to be a cracker. As you've probably jinxed it now, it will be 0-0 in a horrendous game of football. But both teams will be absolutely going for it. You're now at the great end of the season where you really can't slip up, and there's that added pressure as well as a player because you know you can't slip up. So it's got everything made to be a great game. But I think all in all, I think the Championship's been a great league this year for us. Yeah,
messages of complaint to Ryan Stevenson for tonight's 0-0 and not to me, because he agreed with me. He's the former footballer. He knows what he's talking about. Guys, listen, thank you very much indeed. Great to have you on. I'm afraid that's all we've got time for. Ryan Stevenson, thank you. John Walker, thank you for telling Ryan and I that you don't travel the world week in, week out. Ryan and I can go about our daily business today, not being jealous of you. But keep up the good work. Thank you both for joining us. Listen, get in touch with your thoughts. The Scotland squad out today. It'd be great to hear from you. Who should be in, who shouldn't be in, what you make of it when it drops. scottishfootball@bbc.co.uk. I'll be back tomorrow with Lee Miller and Stephen McGinn. Remember, we publish new episodes every weekday morning, so get your daily fix of Scottish football bright and early. And if you haven't done so already, just follow and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. For now, though, enjoy your day, and we'll speak again soon.
The Scotland Rugby Podcast is now available every Tuesday. Join me, Andy Burke and Tom English. Just head to BBC Sounds and subscribe to the Scotland Rugby Podcast.
It's just seismic stuff.
There's bucket hats as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Is this a rugby podcast or is this a fashion podcast?
Why can't there be a bit of both?
Rugby. Let's get on to rugby.
There's a lot to be excited about.
Today's guest, John McGuigan.
Clubs are an absolute bedrock of everything Scottish rugby's about.
The Rugby Sports Sound Podcast from BBC Radio Scotland.
You cannot help but be so excited. It's going to be the centre of the rugby universe.
BBC Sounds.
He's the best midfielder in the world at the moment.
The football season is in full swing on BBC Sounds.
They've still got their best football to play, which is huge.
With everything to play for in the Premier League and Champions League.
It's an enormous win that will give them hope.
Hear the latest news, insight and analysis with Football Daily.
We want to see emotions, we want to see players that care.
If they can get momentum going in the league, they can take that into both competitions.
And listen to games as they happen on BBC Radio 5 Live.
What an incredible game.
Listen on BBC Sounds.
BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Leaving Scotland was the best thing I'd done for not just for my career, but personally as well.
Hello and welcome to a special bonus edition of the Scottish Football Podcast. I'm Jonathan Sutherland, and today I'm joined in conversation with Ryan Gauld, the former Dundee United star who's now captain of Vancouver Whitecaps in the MLS. We discuss his star player status, the prospect of coming face-to-face with Lionel Messi when Inter Miami come to town, his memories of breaking through at Dundee United.
Into the middle it goes, there could be a chance, punched away, the hitch kick comes in for Ryan Gauld.
And why we may never see him in Scottish club football again. Now, he intimated to me he didn't want to discuss his international future, which I respected, although it does get a brief mention. Ryan, where do we start? Vancouver Whitecaps Player of the Year, 11 goals, 12 assists, got to the playoffs, you just signed a new 4-year contract, and now made captain of Vancouver Whitecaps. How good does all of that feel, and what are your ambitions, would you say, for the season ahead?
Yeah, obviously it feels really good. I think coming off my best season statistically anyway, you know, to kind of be rewarded with the new contract and the captaincy as well. So it's a good feeling to know that obviously what you're doing's being noticed, and you know the club are appreciative of it. And yeah, this year I think the main goals are to improve upon what we done last year, because that's 2.5 years I've been here. So like I've had 3 end of the seasons. We've made the playoffs twice and we've not got out of the first round twice. So I would say for me that's the big one this year, is we need to be more competitive and push on into the later stages of the league.
We've obviously watched your career with huge interest over the last 10 or so years. You're always such a mercurially talented player, but now you've got this kind of whole new, I suppose, leadership role in the Vancouver Whitecaps squad. Is that something that almost surprises you, or was that always part of your personality makeup?
Yeah, it's never really been me off the pitch. You know, to be. I mean, you've known me for years. Like, I've never been a big speaker off the pitch, but I like to think that, you know, on the pitch I try to lead by example, you know, and work rate and just the attitude, and just trying to do what I can to kind of lift everyone around me. And obviously I'm aware that now being named captain, it does come with extra responsibility off the pitch. So that's something I'll have to take into my stride and get used to a little bit more talking. But yeah, I don't think too much is going to change. Like I said, you know, I try and do what I can on the pitch, and yeah, just do what I can to help the boys.
There's obviously a huge amount of global interest in MLS this season, obviously with the arrival of Lionel Messi into Miami. I've been reading a few things about how maybe some people almost kind of resent that in the league, because it almost takes the shine away from the achievements of teams that have, you know, achieved real success in the league. But how do you feel about it? I mean, it obviously does, I guess, increase the profile of football in North America.
You can look at that a couple of ways, I suppose. Obviously, it raises the attention the league gets. I think, you know, last year they done the new Apple TV deal, and I think the subscriptions must have gone like through the roof as soon as he signed, because so many people obviously want to watch him play. And yeah, they do obviously get a lot more attention than everyone else, but that kind of allows us to work in the background, and we can do our bit without too much attention on us. Obviously, the better you do, the more attention you're going to get. So we don't focus too much on that. Obviously, it's going to be really good to play against them this year, to get the chance to play them at home, and you know, play against like Messi, Suarez, Busquets, Alba, all those guys. It's going to be really good. And yeah, I think you can only really say positive stuff about the fact that he came to MLS and helped to raise the standard of the league.
Yeah, May 26th, that match. I've definitely got that in my diary. It'll be a great day, no doubt, to be on the same pitch as Lionel Messi, obviously. In terms of taking you back to your Dundee United days, Ryan, thinking back to that about 10 years ago, whatever it was, what a talented bunch of guys you were. Yourself, Andy Robertson, obviously, John Souttar, Stuart Armstrong.
Armstrong onto Ryan Gauld, who could finish. He has. 50. Oh, it's a great pass into Ryan Gauld. And it's an even better finish. Great football from Dundee United. Gauld has run the show. Oh, that could be perfect for Brian Graham on his birthday. His first Dundee United goal is his present to himself. Set up by Ryan Gauld. All 4 Dundee United goals have been set up by the youngster.
Am I misremembering, or did you guys all live together at one point?
So me, John, and Andy lived together, and Joe McGovern, Michael McGovern's wee brother. We lived in a flat together for 6 months to a year in Dundee. Yeah, so that was good fun. But yeah, then we weren't there long, and then I left for Portugal, and Andy went down to Hull first, I think. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, he went down to Hull, and then it wasn't long after that John went to Hearts. So it was a short time living together, but no, it was good fun.
It was a great time for Dundee United. I take it you all stay in touch to this day.
Yeah, we all keep in touch. I would say I keep more in touch, with Soapy and Andy, but I speak to the group now and again. But yeah, we did have a really good team, and actually we've signed a guy from Salt Lake, Kralak, and me and him were speaking just when he joined, and turns out we played against each other in Germany pre-season like 11 years ago, and he sent me the photo from that game, and I was actually just looking through it a couple of days ago, and yeah, that team we had was unbelievable. There's even more. There was like Gaz Mackay-Steven, Nadir Chifchi, a lot of good players in that team.
Yeah, I remember it well. What would you say was a highlight during that time? Obviously, the run to the Scottish Cup final must have been hugely memorable.
Yeah, we played some good games on that run. Obviously, it leaves that bad taste in your mouth because of the way we lost it. Because I think St Johnstone played Aberdeen in the other semi-final, and St Johnstone were a bit of a bogey team for us that year. I think we played them 4 or 5 times, and they got the better of us most of the time. But yeah, our semi-final against Rangers at Ibrox was probably the standout memory from that run. Just, unfortunate that we couldn't win the trophy at the end of it.
I feel like I always should apologise to you slightly, Ryan, because I remember the whole time the mini Messi thing, and I was very much part of that bandwagon, I suppose. But I was only just because your teammates called you mini Messi as well. But I guess there must have been a huge part of you kind of relieved almost to leave Scotland and leave all that behind for a little while.
Yeah, just to kind of, not just that, like to get away from that kind of attention, but just to go and experience something different was the main reason of leaving. And I mean that when I did first leave, that tag kind of got picked up by the Portuguese press as well, so that kind of stuck around for a little while. But no, I think leaving Scotland was the best thing I've done not just for my career, but personally as well. Just to experience living in another country and ending up loving it, and hopefully go back there one day.
Interesting. I mean, I don't want to really talk about international football. I know it's kind of, you get weary some of that with the Scotland thing, and then I know there's always the kind of thing in the background about Canadian citizenship and all that potentially in years to come, etc., etc. And I'm not going to ask you directly about that, but because obviously it's going to be a big year in 2026 when the World Cup comes to North America. Anyway, a lot of football to be played before then. In general, what does the future hold for Ryan Gauld, would you say?
Well, just obviously signing the new deal. I'm excited to know that I'm going to be in one place for the next 4 years. Since leaving United, really, I've kind of been jumping around year to year, not knowing where I'm going to be, living in different places, joining new teams and stuff. So I'm happy just to have the continuity ahead of me of being in Vancouver and being in familiar surroundings. And then, here with the club, I think we're building something really good. There's been a lot of improvements in the last couple of years since I joined. I think we're in a really good place right now. And, when you look at the bulk of the squad, we're all, at the age where you would say we've got a good window of, say, 3 to 4 years to go and try and challenge. So that's what I'm focusing on for the next few years, and then you never know what's happening in the future. So I'm just happy I've got the next 4 years to look forward to, and can just be at a little bit of peace with myself.
You had a spell with Hibernian a few years ago. By the end of your Vancouver Whitecaps contract, you'll be 32. Could you ever see yourself coming back to play in Scotland, or are you just loving the sort of North American dream at the moment? It looks like you're living your best life over there.
Yeah, I'm loving it over here. It's been great since the day I arrived, and I think what that little Hibs experience taught me was that Scottish football doesn't really suit me. I struggled to get involved, struggled to make an impact there. So I've not got too many good memories of playing football in Scotland. So yeah, obviously you can never say never. You never know what's going to happen in the future and what your options might be. But I don't think Scottish football would get the best out of me, and I don't think I would add too much to it either. So it's not something that I foresee. But like I said, you can never say never, and we'll see where we're at in 4 years' time.
Just finally, Ryan, do you keep half an eye on the Dundee United score lines? They're obviously in the Championship at the moment and doing okay, but the odd bad result here and there.
Yeah, a little bit of inconsistency. I was hoping, once they did get ahead of Wraith for a little bit a few weeks ago, I was hoping that would be them kind of going to start running away from it, but it's been close. And to be fair, I think Wraith have got a really good team this year as well, but still hopeful, that United will have enough experience to get over the line and, get back to the Premier League, because I think, the First Division does miss a team like that. They're a big team that have a big support. They take a big away following as well. So hopefully, they can get back into the league and can have a few more Dundee derbies in the league.
Ryan, great to speak to you. Good luck for the season ahead.
Yes, thanks very much, mate.
Everything you need to know about your team this season. Download the BBC Sport app. All the latest news, goal updates, stats and scores, and insight and analysis. Just select your club to get the biggest stories and best content at your fingertips. What a result. Download the BBC Sport app for everything you need to know about your team this season.